Hello and welcome to the Press Enterprise High School Football Video Podcast. I'm Press Enterprise Sports Editor Tim Hare. With me is Assistant Editor Dan Riley, and we're going to be talking about Bloomsburg football through 5 weeks. First of all, the big story coming in this year was the new coach in Bloomsburg, Anthony Russo. What kind of job do you think he's done at the midway point?
I think he's done a great job. I think in talking with Coach Russo before the season started, doing our preview tab stuff, seemed like the kids were really buying into the system that he's put in place, which is what Russo likes to describe as an equal opportunity offense in particular. And I think it's working out according to plan thus far. I feel like the Panthers are still a young team, but they're showing some nice things out there on the field, and they've won 2 games so far. They're 2-3. I think they're going to be all right with Coach Russo.
Yeah, and you talk about them being a young team, and I think that's the biggest reason for optimism is they're 2-3. The offense looks pretty good, and a lot of the guys who are really making plays at the skill positions are young guys. Early on it was Darius Green, who's a freshman running back. I feel like the big story for Bloom has been the emergence of Eric Faust at wide receiver. I got the chance to see him against Southern. He's the real deal. I feel like he's a future All-Stater. Nick Anderson's been playing well at quarterback. Really, the only contributor that they're going to lose is Cody Cashner, who's also been kind of I don't think this is quite the role they had expected for him, but you run for 200 yards against Towanda, you're going to get a couple more carries.
Yeah.
They lose him, and they'll lose Tommy Harrison, who hasn't really touched the ball so much, but a very good lead blocker at fullback.
Yeah, and he's been a nice defensive player for the Panthers, too.
Yeah, but I feel like that youth, and you look at the Greens and the Andersons and the Fausts, I feel like that's a real cause for optimism for the future.
I think you said it. I think you hit the nail on the head right there. It's they've got Anderson. He's a sophomore.
Yes.
Faust will be back, assuming everyone comes back and they've it's the same system in place. I think there's a nice stable atmosphere at Bloom right now. And it's something that they can certainly build off of this year for next year, and that's only going to benefit them down the road.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the situation exactly. Was Russo the third coach in 4 years?
Yeah, they went
Sones in 2012, Kogan in 13 and 14, and now Russo.
Right.
So you talk about stability. You'd kind of like to see Russo stick around, build up his program around these young kids, and not have that kind of turnover.
Like, when you look at Sones' tenure, he was there for how many years?
Yeah, about 10 years.
It was stability. He was a stable coach. He had a plan for them the entire way along. Regardless of who his players were, there was stability there, and I feel like that's what Russo's trying to get back. And for a team like Bloom, a school like Bloom, I kind of feel like that's what they need in order to be successful. In talking with Russo, he had said, before the season started, you look at the teams like Southern or Berwick, or the ones that are traditionally good and have been good for many, many years. It's all because they have good foundations, and I think that's what he's trying to currently put in place there.
Now, Bloom, like we said, is 2-3. They're currently knocking on the door of a District 4 playoff spot. 4 teams go out of Class A, and Bloom, 230 points. So they're currently 40 points behind Sayre, who has that 4th spot. Do you think with what Bloom has left on the schedule, they go to the playoffs?
Well, it's really going to depend on what everyone else does. I think we were looking at the schedule before. Bloom's got Muncie this week. They've got Wellsboro, Hughesville, Loyalsock, and Central left. They can win 3 of those games, which would put them at 500 for the season. Depending on what everyone else's schedules are like, it's possible if they manage to win 4 out of the next 5, then I think they've got a really good shot to sneak in there as the 4th team.
Yeah, I don't think they beat Sauk, obviously.
I don't think so either.
And I feel like beating Hughesville is a little bit of a pipe dream.
It's going to be tough.
This week, I feel like it's a real coin flip with Muncie. I feel like they beat Central again.
Yeah, I think so too.
And that Wellsboro game could really kind of be the widowmaker there, deciding if they go to the playoffs.
Yeah, and that's not this week, but the following week. So they've Russo is going to have those guys ready to go and approaching every game as if it's a playoff game, because in high school football you essentially have to.
Well, I think that's everything we have on Bloom High School football, but if you liked what you heard, please check out our website, pressenterpriseonline.com, where you'll find all our stories and tweets from the games, a link to our weekly playbook where we have previews on every week's games. Check out the daily paper for predictions and all the other stuff that we provide. So go to Press Enterprise Online, check that out, and please check back in the future for more podcasts. We'll be doing these for as long as the season goes on. So I'm Press Enterprise Sports Editor Tim Hare. This is Dan Riley, and we will talk to you next week.